All right, hey everyone, this is Walt from White Label Suite. I just wanted to give you a quick video on the Workflow Builder today and to show you how this underutilized feature works within the Leads tool, and of course, your clients have access to this as well. So our Workflow Builder exists here in our lead search section, but before I dive in to the actual Workflow Builder and show how it works, I just want to kind of explain where it fits into the process. So we can set up a search. Now that is either manually or we set it up on autopilot. So what happens is we set up a search and it adds to the list. So we can go in, we can find all of the CEOs of construction companies in Atlanta, for example, and add them to a list. We can do that manually, or we can set that on autopilot. So that's a separate video. Autopilot means that we can set it up to search all the time, continuously adding to that list. So we start with a search. This is first here in our column. We do a search for our records, manually or on autopilot. Those search results go into a list. And that's where we can see all those search results and be able to dive in and do extra things with them. The workflow sits right after that. So after the leads are added to the list, now we can build a workflow and perform specific actions to all of those accounts. Now, as I've mentioned here on my little sticky note, adding a workflow means that every lead you add to the list has those same set of things done. So for example, when we look at the lists within our program here, we might say, okay, great, I've got my list, CEO of construction companies, if that's my example, and I always want to do a summary, I always want to run an intro, I've always got a custom prompt that I run, I always want to enrich the data, I want to get the phone numbers, I always want to do those things, and then I always want to filter on the emails that are verified, and then I always want to send it across to my CRM. Well, that's exactly what we can set up to always happen using the Workflow Builder. So we run the search, they go to the list, and we set up a workflow that then does those things every single time. Now, the cool thing is you can set that workflow, and when you turn on autopilot, those same things will happen all the time. So let's have a look at our Workflow Builder. So in our lead search over in our Workflow Builder, you'll find you may have some drafts, or you may have ones that are already active, or you may not have any if you haven't used this before, and in which case you can come up and click on New Workflow. Now, we give this a name so we can find it easily. So let's say that this is the CEO's Enrich and Post over to our CRM, okay? So enrich our results and send them to my CEO list, my CRM list. All right. Great, and I want to make sure that those changes are saved as we go. Cool, so now we've got a title and we can start to build our workflow. What we said was we want it to be triggered from a list. So you'll find that all of the triggers are lists. When something happens on that list, then we're going to trigger everything else that we're about to do. So in this case, it was a people search list. So I'm going to drag that on. And as soon as I do, it says, great, which list did you mean? And I'm going to choose the list that I want this to happen. And when anybody is added to this list, this is what we want to be as the trigger. All right, so now every time somebody is added to this list, what do we want to do next? So as we scroll down, we've got some different things here that we can start to do. So we mentioned filter by verified email. So I can start to filter, all right, only filter where the email address is verified. Great. Okay, so if the results in the list don't meet the filter, then they won't take the next step. Cool. What can we do next? We can start to do some AI commands. So remember we said we want to run that summary. All right, fantastic. So I can drag on the summary. Here we go. And I get to choose which prompt I want there. So I can either create a new prompt or I can choose from an existing prompt if I have that in the system. So now it'll always run that particular prompt. Fantastic. What else do I want to do? I want to, I've got some content creation things there. So I can create a subject line. Great. I can create that first paragraph. Maybe I'll do that one. So I want to add that in. I've got my first paragraph there that I can add. So every single time I run my search, only for the ones where the email address is verified, run the summary and write the intro, and then we can choose to get the phone numbers if we want to, and we'll send it across to my CRM. And then of course, we can send it to a webhook if you're using Zapier or you're using an external program, or you can use it straight across to whichever sub account that you've got connected, right? So you've got your integration set up there and away we go. So now every single time somebody's added to this list, it will filter them, take the performed actions and send that across to our CRM for you. Once you're happy with that, you can come across and just set that to publish, so that it's live and you'll see that active in your list. Okay, so that is now live. When we look at our lists of workflows, you'll see which ones are published. There we go, that one that we just created, which ones are still in draft. So if you're wondering, hey, I set it up, but it's not running, it's probably still in draft. You need to come in and turn it on. And of course, then you can change that to be set. But once you're happy with it, this is now going to run every single time, and it's going to send those results across to whatever step. So now you can set up your autopilot to just throw leads into this list. All of those steps will automatically happen, and it'll send it across to your CRM or off to the webhook, whatever you want it to be able to do. So you can now create multiple workflows on a single list. You can have lots of different prompts happening at the same time. You can send it to different places. So you could send those leads to another app if you wanted to. So send it to my CRM or send it to an intermediary, send it to N8N or send it to Make or Zapier, and then send it to somewhere else. So you can set this up to always perform these tasks. So that workflow builder exists in the system so that you can automate when leads are added to the list, something happens and the same thing happens all the time and takes those actions for you. So the workflow builder sits at our end here. We run our search. Now that can either be manual or automated. They go into a list, and then the workflow takes care of the actions that will happen in the background for you.